And it's Wednesday night, and that means it's Quick Fix Golf at quickfixgolf.com, where all our buddies get together and we talk to some of the leading people in the whole world of golf. And we've got one tonight, which is Jim Hackenberg. We're going to tell you all about him in a second. I'm sure you've seen his product, which is the Orange Whip. Everybody's got one, it seems like. They're all over the place. It's really good. So we're really looking forward to tonight. And before we get started,
here's what we want you to do. We want you to get your cell phone out. We want you to take a video of your golf swing, send it to us at quickservice@quickfixgolf.com. We'll give you a free evaluation, not a penny out of your pocket. We'll send you some drills to work on. You owe it to yourself, and we want you to play better golf now.
and our guest this evening, Jim, welcome to the gang. Jim Hackenberg, PGA professional, besides the creator of Orange Whip. Glad to have you, buddy.
Hey, thank you guys. I'm looking forward to chatting about it, and I love talking golf, so this is great.
And I put some of your stuff on here, but there's so much I couldn't even cover it all. We need 2 slides or something. Look at this. With the Arizona State.
Here's what jumps out to me is that Horton Smith Award winner in 2017. It's a great deal. I was also one of the nominees, but Jim took it from me. So kudos to you, Jim.
Well, thank you. And I really appreciate that award because I do a lot of presentations to the Assistants Association as well as the PGM groups. And I think that's what really helped me out in that regard.
Absolutely. 100%.
Darren was just nominated top 100. He made top 100 this year. Yep.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was voted number 2 in Havana.
Yeah, you were 2 in Havana. Yeah.
There's only one other pro on the whole friggin' island, so I'm number 2.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get busy here with this Orange Whip. What came across you to come up with this idea? What was this Orange Whip?
Sure. When I was young, I was a wannabe tour player. I played college golf. I was a walk-on at Arizona State. Actually, the year I was the walk-on, Phil Mickelson was a freshman. So he and I played together for a year and a half at ASU. Although they had 12 guys on the team and only 5 basically travel. And I qualified for a couple events, but the coach said I wasn't ready, so I didn't go. But I played with Phil in the practice and all that, so that was a great experience. Transferred to Oregon State in January of 1990 and played for the Beavers for 2 years and graduated in 92. And then I went on about a 10-year approach at trying to play professional golf. I would work all winter down south, Arizona or California, and then I'd play mini tours all summer. And as soon as I'd run out of money, I'd go back to work. If I didn't run out of money, I'd keep parlaying it as far as I could go. Didn't make it as a player, so I started getting more involved in teaching. And when I was teaching, and Darren, you and all others know a lot about teaching. That early on, you have some teaching situations that don't turn out as well as you'd hope, and the players don't get as good as you want, or some even regress. They move backward. So I had some difficulties with that. I was probably too technical of a teacher. And while going through this experience and feeling kind of bad that some of these people are getting worse, I started going, God, there's got to be an easier way. So in 2003, a good friend of mine qualified for the PGA Tour. He asked me to caddy for him. And I thought, man, I would love to see what the PGA Tour life is really like. So as a caddy, I could live vicariously through my player. And his name was Patrick Moore. He was the leading money winner on the 2002 Nationwide Tour. We knew each other since we were kids. We were both from North Dakota, and he was a superstar, went on to North Carolina, was All-American there. And he had a good mini tour career. I did not. So I caddied for him. And while caddying, I started to notice certain golfers make it look unbelievably easy. I could watch them on the range, and they would peer the golf ball one after another. And I could stand behind them and I could tell exactly where the golf ball was going just by the motion they were making. And the name or the player that stands out the most at the time, and this is 2003, 4, and 5 when I caddied, was Jeff Ogilvy. Watching Jeff Ogilvy swing the club back then, it's almost like swinging a ball on the end of a chain. He was swing the club head back, wait for it to load, and then unload all the momentum at a target. I go, man, that looks easy. He didn't look like he's controlling the club face. It didn't look like he was trying to control positions. He was just swinging the weight on the end of a stick or on the end of a chain. So that's how it came to me. I'd sit in a hotel room at night and maybe have a couple beers and think about the day on the golf course and the players I watched. And I always kept coming back to this idea that the golf club looks like it's swinging like it's a ball or a weight on the end of a chain or a very flexible, like a fishing rod. And if you could swing that back and forth and find this athletic motion, that's really what the golf swing was. So in my mind, I just set out to kind of devise a tool that felt like what Jeff Ogilvy or Ernie Els or Freddie Couples or everybody on tour looks like. And I thought, if I could just get a tool that people could feel, then I wouldn't have to talk as much when I'm teaching. And I just, through trial and error in a shed, I was working on this tool that it was a shed at the golf course I was teaching at. And I'd made this thing where I was putting weights on different ends of a flexible shaft, a fishing rod. And the more I experimented with it, and the more I learned that by putting equal amount of weights on each side, having a little bit of flex so I could feel the sensation of the load and the unload, I thought, man, this is it. This is the answer. I think I figured it out. And I really just was making a teaching tool. I was making something to help me teach this message to my students. I wasn't thinking product. And I had the first 5 people I showed this to during my lessons, I warmed them up with it. I go, let's find your rhythm with this. And they're all going, what the heck is this thing? And I just said, well, just swing it back and forth. Let's find your rhythm, find your balance. And all 5 of them greatly improved during that lesson. And all 5 of them said, hey, how can I buy one of these things? So that's kind of when the light bulb went off. And I said, hey, I might start a business. I'll start making these things and selling them. So that happened. I started caddying in 2003. Over the next 3 years, I developed a philosophy. Over the next 2 years, I developed a prototype. And then I just used it during teaching. So in 2007, I put my mind together that I'm going to move to South Carolina and start a business. And that's what happened.
Fantastic. I love those kind of stories. That's what America's all about.
Yeah. I made it, in the shed. And then when I moved here, I made it in the basement and in the garage. And it was, we made them all here. And currently, still today, 2021, all the Orange Whip parts are made in the USA, and they're handcrafted right here. They're put together all here in Easley, South Carolina. So they're all American parts. And and that was fortunate for me because I did it because I thought it would be better quality control and easier to get. And people say, oh, you can make it cheaper in China, or you can do this and that. Well, my good fortune was when last year happened, when the pandemic hit, I have some friends who are in the golf business as well, and they make a lot of their products in China. They couldn't get product. They couldn't get things. We still could, and we had a banner year because golf got busier. People's desire for Orange Whips increased. We were able to get our parts because they're all here in the U.S., so it worked out great. So it's been nice.
It's 47 inches long. How did you come to 47 inches?
Trial and error. And that 47 inches includes the counterweight. And the counterweight's about 1.5 inch diameter steel ball. And that steel ball's approximately 8 to 8.5 ounces. So it's really like a driver. If you really, where you're gripping it's about 45.5 to 46. So it's like a driver motion. Our mid-size is more like a long iron, and our compact is more like a short iron. So many people think I just have different sizes because of different height on people. It's really more to do with all of us could use all 3 of these for different benefits because there's different lie angles on every golf club. So by different lengths, you get a different lie angle when you swing it. And there's also different benefits to it. Like our most common one is the Orange Whip Trainer, which is 47 inches. And then we have the Orange Whip Midsize, which is 44 or 43.5 in that region. Well, a guy could be 6'4", but if he hits a big old draw, he drops it inside and hits a big draw, like drops it in, swings out. I don't want to put him in the long Orange Whip because it'll flatten him out even a little further. So I try to get him to the mid-size so he stays, closer to the plane. And on the flip side, if you got a guy who's 5'5", but he's athletic, but he comes over the top, the Orange Whip, the long one, is perfect for him. So height's a bit of a factor, but ability and the type of golf swing we're dealing with is also a factor.
Jim, have you ever considered a molded grip to that?
Yeah, people ask me that a lot. My hesitation or I want people to, all the drills that I promote, I do right and left-handed. I want the body to balance out. Because if you swing the same way all the time and do the same thing all the time, your body, it's good to groove a swing, but it's maybe not great for the body or the back. And I learned this from a few people I had met, TPI, as well as when I was caddying on tour, the guy that I did caddy for back in 03 and 04, I caddied for a different gentleman in 05. But the 03 and 04, the guy had a very strong grip. I mean, Paul Azinger and even maybe a little more. And he hit 1 billion balls, this guy, this friend of mine, competitive guy, but he hit 1 billion balls, but he way out balanced his body. Like his left forearm was twice as big as his right. His left tricep looked like a bodybuilder, and his right looked like a normal person. And he ended up getting a bulging disc in his neck because his balance of his body got so out. So I've always promoted balance in the training of the motion, that the orange whip is a tool that teaches a swing, but it also balances your body. So that's why I don't do a training grip.
You know Derek Sanders by any chance?
Yeah. Oh yeah, very well. Great player.
Derek is caddying for Woody Austin. Derek and I are good friends. He always stays in my house when he comes to town.
Derek's great. He's a hell of a player, but he's a great dude. Yeah, I know Derek. I've got to know him more in the last year, and he's wonderful.
Well,
he's been carrying the orange whip on the tour lately for us.
Well, he told me that he saw Vijay Singh hitting orange whip shots like 2 1/4, threading it out on the ring.
Yeah.
Is that a true story, or is it?
It is true. Yeah, we have that video. We get other video from people, but to be honest, I mean, it's a heavy ball connected to a fiberglass shaft, and Vijay Singh and good players can do it, but I don't promote it because if a bad golfer hits that fiberglass shaft with the ball, it could shatter it. So we actually put on our sticker the warning: do not impact anything. So it's cool to watch, and I've tried to hit balls with it, and it's difficult, but it's a good timed golf swing can do it very well. But we don't promote it only because of safety reasons. But yeah, I've seen that video many times.
Jim, one of the misconceptions I see with the orange whip trainer is that people think they need to swing it fast.
Exactly. And it's because it's heavy, because it's flexible. What it's really doing is it's getting your hands, arms, and body to learn to work together in synchronization to make the most motion athletic. Or I liken it to dancing. Like you can go to take a waltz or a ballroom dancing class, but if you're choppy with your feet and blah, 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 it's awkward. Well, teaching golf can be like that. When I was teaching golf from a technical perspective, I was making a lot of people choppy and tight and controlling. The orange whip almost liquefies the motion. It allows people to find a rhythm. So I highly encourage always, no matter how good of a player you are, start slow, build the momentum, let it grow. And then if you are in balance, you can increase the pace and the speed. But if you're not, and you try to increase the pace or speed, it'll start to bounce off your neck, or it will throw you off balance. So speed is a secondary thought. And to be quite honest, I'm just trying to get people in sync. When you swing a golf club, which is way lighter and way less flex, then you can really get your speed, but you've got to be in sync to get that first.
What was it you learned while caddying on tour, you think? Of course,
you know, a lot. Yep. But no, but you know what? That's an awesome question, because let's go back in time. If I could, and again, this is hard to do, and I've talked to many caddies while I was on tour about this, because many of them are guys like me who tried to make it, and I remember them from college golf and mini tour stuff. Well, their buddy made it and they got it as a caddy, so that's kind of what I did. What I learned was, if I could have, right as soon as I finished college, gone straight to caddying and caddied for 2 years, what you learn about how hard these guys work, how much they focus, how much they prepare themselves, how much they learn that when it is their shot, it's their shot. I mean, I can remember back in my competitive days, I'd be like insecure about something, like, oh, I wonder what they're thinking about my swing or this or that. These guys are totally zoned into what is their deal. And so I think a couple years on caddying and then trying to play the tour would have been a smarter move, because I became a better player while caddying. Although I didn't play or practice much at all during that time, I became better. And I'm sure Derek Sanderson would say the same thing, is that the more you experience and watch these guys, the more you learn on your own game. So I loved it. I loved it, although I lost money caddying. I mean, my players struggled with injuries and or just missing a lot of cuts. So I lost money, but it gained me the orange whip idea. So I'm grateful for the experience.
What about position-based versus balanced and rhythm?
Well, I'm completely balanced in rhythm now. I mean, I think positions come. If you have a good grip and you have a good setup and you're balanced and athletic and you get your joints loaded over the, you know, how it's all balanced. And again, that can be done a lot of different ways, but yeah, I'm all rhythm, because it's made my swing way prettier and it's made my even technically better. So I think we get there because we need to. I think going to try to control it technically makes it more difficult. I think you can do it. I know many guys who, through technique and control, have made it to the tour, but they've worked so hard. Whereas I think if somebody went through a proper setup, proper grip, proper balance, and then learning to swing in rhythm and then generate power from their footwork, then I think they can go further faster, because then they can work on short game and chipping and putting. Because I was one of those guys who was stuck on the range. It's like, well, I can't leave the range till I get this all done. And then I go putt for 15 minutes and then go home. You know, it's like I was doing it the opposite way, but I felt I needed to, because the control method of the golf swing was way too difficult. And so yeah, I'm complete rhythm and balance now.
So flexibility, strength, coordination, and tempo you talk about on your site.
Yeah. Well, what we're promoting is, I mean, obviously the more flexible you are, the better. So with an orange whip, it's 1 3/4 pounds. So it's twice as heavy as a golf club. And because of that weight, when you're swinging it, and our goal is repetition, just back and forth, that's going to improve your flexibility, because you're repeating the motion back and forth and allowing your body to flow with it. Because it's heavier, you're going to gain a little more strength, and that's going to, in the golf muscles. And again, I'm certainly no biomechanist, so I don't know any details there. Fortunately, though, when I talk to those guys, they like what the orange whip does to the body biomechanically. So there's going to be some strength benefits from that. Coordination, because it's flexible. That was the key. When I figured out that I needed a really flexible shaft for people to feel it, because a light, stiff shaft, you can't feel what it's doing. But this orange whip, you have no choice but to feel it. So coordination happens because if you don't do it right, it feels really weird and wobbly and off balance and uncoordinated. So you almost have to find that coordination. And then tempo, I mean, there's a certain tempo or a beat or a pace to a golf swing. And when you find what's the most beneficial to your body type and swing, then that's when you're in the groove, I would say, where you could just set up to a shot, aim, and fire away. And when I still compete. I try to compete and play in our state opens and our section events, but I'll also go play men's night at our local club here. And there's nights where I find my rhythm or my tempo, and every shot I hit's just starting right at the flag. And it's like, man, I wish I could find that every day.
Hey, Darren.
Yeah, every golfer wants to hit the ball farther. So what are some of the things you're doing orange whip wise to accomplish that?
Okay, yeah, great question. So with the orange whip, because of the weight, because of the flex, we get everybody in coordination, and they're in sync, and their body and footwork are all flowing together. But it is a heavy device, and as all these scientists will tell you, to swing faster, you got to swing something lighter. And we've got into the market where we took an orange whip where it's the counterbalance on the end of the grip, the flexible shaft, but instead of the heavy 10.5-ounce ball, we put a 3-ounce ball, which is much smaller. It's about the size of a golf ball. And we put that on the end of it. And because it's so much lighter, it's way easier to swing fast through the hitting zone. So similar to an orange whip, you start slowly at first, load it up, and then you just, once you feel like you've loaded up in the top of your swing, you try to unload as fast as you possibly can and let that club just fly through. So we've got the orange whip light speed that basically transitions to speed motion. And we want people to not only warm up with the orange whip, but then transfer to the light speed and then go to their golf club and get that feeling to the golf club. So it's almost a progression. Use the orange whip first, then the light speed, then your golf club, and you just kind of go through that cycle.
Yeah. So Jim, when I was studying, I studied many years under Martin Hall. And one of the things he always talked about was the importance of, if you swing something heavy, you got to swing some.
The original orange whip is like running uphill. swinging the Orange Whip light speed is like running downhill. So they're both good for your running skills, but one of them gets you on the high, fast twitch or the speedy motion.
Light speed trainer. So you got two. And what about this? Darren, you had one of these.
I had an orange peel. Yes, I love the orange peel. We got the Tough Lie 360 now, but you know, the orange peel I use for different purposes. Jim, tell us a little bit about the orange peel.
Okay, so myself as a guy who still tries to compete in tournaments, I would say my biggest fault in my swing was I would slide a bit laterally through impact. And that probably means I was even sliding on the takeaway a bit, but I was going, how can I deal with this? Because I'd watch guys like Tom Watson and Jack Nicklaus watch their swing, and they just rotate, and they're just pure power, but pure accuracy, just awesome. And I couldn't really figure out what was going on. And then I saw, I don't even remember where I seen it, but if you go to any doctor's office, they have a Leonardo da Vinci painting or picture called the Vitruvian Man, and it shows a guy inside of a circle with two sets of arms and two sets of legs. And you've seen it 1,000 times, but it's like, I looked at that picture and I go, the way they had his feet positioned in there and they're kind of cantered inward, he's in a bubble or a dome that's about, I'd say 9 feet in diameter. And I thought, man, if I could stand inside of a bubble and swing a golf club or an orange whip, it'd be way better than on a flat surface. So I thought, well, how can I replicate that? So I created this orange peel idea, which is just a solid base that sits on the ground, doesn't move, doesn't do anything. And because it's curved and has radius and your feet tilt in, it keeps your core centered. And with your core centered, you still can use your footwork, you still can pivot, you can still create a ton of energy, but you don't slide laterally. And it was really to kind of help my own game. And I had a buddy of mine, after starting Orange Whip, I'd never been in a machine shop before. I'd never been any of these types of places. Now I go into them all the time. So I have these friends and people I know that when I have an idea, they can build something for me. So a buddy of mine built me my first orange peel out of this like plastic material that he carved out on his CNC machine. And I swear, after 5 minutes of just tinkering with it in my garage, I was like, wow, this is way better than I thought it would be. And then I learned I could do uphill lies by moving to the left on it. And I could move downhill lies by moving to the right. And I could back up my feet and create a side hill lie, move forward to create a side hill lie ball above my feet. And the beauty of that is every golfer practices on a flat driving range, and then they go out to a golf course, and there's terrain, there's hills, there's this and that. They don't know how to balance themselves while they're swinging a golf club trying to get speed. So you could put this in your home, your office, your garage, and just swing on it from any lie angle you want. And once you learn how to stay balanced and create some speed from every lie angle on the golf course, it becomes easy. So that was really the genesis of the orange peel.
Jackie Gleason did the same thing with pots and pans in his apartment. Remember that? He put a pan and he put his foot up on the pan. He says, I'm doing an uphill lie, and he puts the pan under his right foot and putting a downhill lie.
Really? I've never seen that.
Oh, look, one of the probably the most famous saying in golf comes from that one show when Norton went there and he goes, hello, ball.
Hello, ball.
I gotta check that out. That's good.
That's a good one.
Oh, it's on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
And one of the best lines in that whole show was when Jackie Gleason, he's trying to, he realizes he's not getting it. He's got to play golf with the boss the next day. He says, I can't learn how to play golf in a day. It's going to take at least a week.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that was a good show. Well, let's what do you say? I think that's the end
Let's
of our
open
slide.
it up. Open up the mics.
Yes. Well, one last thing. We have the wedge and the putter.
Oh, we got Stan Utley.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Poor Utley.
So now, with me, especially since the Orange Whip, my ball striking got to be, I thought, wonderful. For a guy, I don't play that much, and I enjoy having my beer in the evening, and I'm not working out a whole lot. Well, my ball striking is generally pretty strong, but if I missed a green, I would almost like, if I could be given a bogey and go to the next tee, I'd take it. And that means I'm not getting up and down, but it wasn't double hitting it or chunking it or making double. So I was really struggling with my chipping, especially. So I'd go to a lot of golf teaching summits and I'd tell the Orange Whip story and demonstrate it. Well, Stan Utley happened to be at a number of these same teaching summits, and I'd listen to all the people and try to learn while I'm there. And he was saying some stuff about the short game that I just didn't understand. And I was like, God, I completely approach the short game differently than what you're saying, but I'm terrible at it. So can you tell me about this? So he goes, well, next time you're in Phoenix, let's get together and we'll have a session for a couple hours. And he just gave me a whole new perception on what the golf short game could be. But he also explained to me, he goes, Jimmy, I've watched you hit balls. I've seen you swing. He goes, it's awesome. He goes, but I've been watching you chip for 10 minutes as we first meet for this lesson. I go, it's nothing like the way you hit a golf ball. He goes, why are you so different on these two? And I go, I don't know. It's just the way I learn. And he goes, well, it's incorrect. So he basically taught me how to load and unload the club head like I'm loading and unloading the orange ball and the orange whip, but in a shorter, smaller swing. And after a couple of our lessons together, he said, you know what? You made this beautiful device, this orange whip. Why don't you just put a wedge head in place of the ball? And we'd have a great tool. So we made one, and it was, and he even admitted it was better than he thought it would be. So we teamed up, and he's presented a lot of his philosophy and ideas and through videos and other stuff. We've worked together, and we created a wedge. I actually created the putter, but he's a short game guy, so we kind of teamed with him. But it's my putter idea. The difference with the putter is it's still an orange whip, it's still counterbalanced, it's still flexible, but it's a radius face. It's a 10-inch radius. So think of like a 20-inch diameter yoga ball or something. That's what the radius on that face is. What that encourages is center contact. And even more than center contact, the path must be going down the proper path. So it's kind of like playing pool. If you can get a pool ball that's round into the cue ball going into the impact ball, if you can get them on the right path and the right collision, they're going to roll that direction. So my putter is trained to not only just do orange whip stuff, timing, tempo, rhythm, blah, 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 but also center contact. So you roll the ball. And yes, it just trains people how to make this motion like that. So we teamed up with Stan to kind of get this message out. And we've done well with the short game. We'd still like to continue to grow it because we think they're wonderful tools. But they're growing every year, so we've been very proud of that.
Well, let's open up the some questions from the peanut gallery. Who's got a question?
Let's hear the peanut gallery, right?
Kevin, how do you counter the rap that the orange whip slows you down?
Well, because I disagree with it in the sense that if it's heavy, so yeah, that you may not have the speed of your swing, but I don't believe that it slows the golf swing down or the club speed down. Because when we've done all of our testing, we speed up their club head speed. But when you're swinging an actual orange whip, it's heavy. So therefore, yeah, if you timed that, it might slow it down. But I think if you swing an orange whip properly and do the proper drills and then transition to a golf club, you're going to swing faster. So, yeah, but I've had discussions about this for sure. But I think it's more to do with the weight of the orange whip as they're concerned.
You know, I used to do a trick shot show, and I took a hose and put a 4-wood head on the end of it and put a screw right through the neck of the 4-wood head. A wood head, you know. This was a long time ago with a hose. And, you know, if I would only painted the hose orange, just look at the money I could have made.
Exactly. You were
had a green hose. It should have been orange.
No, I
my
see
grandfather,
that in trick shot,
he started
impressed by that.
6 up, and he quit. He doesn't know how close he was. You know, he was really close.
That's right.
Anybody
I have a
else
question.
Two people.
Hey, Jim.
Is it the same orange whip for men and women, like the same weight, or should women?
Well,
be
we have different sizes, but the weights are approximately the same. I mean, because the shaft gets a little shorter from the trainer to the midsize to the compact, there's a slight weight difference, but it's not necessarily men and women. It's height related, or it's related to ability. If you had to generalize the orange whip trainer, the full length one, that one a lot of times people think is a men's, and the gold counterweight version, the midsize, people think is women, but it doesn't always hold true. But if a person's pretty standardized, you know, I think the midsize is perfect for a lot of lady golfers and a lot of senior golfers.
Here we've got Larry Fraser line. Larry, how about a little Figaro? We're gonna have some Figaro.
Yeah. Figaro, Figaro, Figaro.
There you go.
I do have one question related to golf. You know, there's a lot of talk about developing maximum club head lag,
would you just talk about the whip in relation to club head lag?
Sure. So because the orange whip again is heavy and it's got a flexible shaft, when you swing it back and forth, you have to wait for the weight of that orange ball to load. That's kind of what lag is. It's almost like loading a towel before you snap it. And because of the flex and because of the weight, it's much easier to feel. And you also can determine when you actually have waited for it to load, therefore creating lag, because it's a chain reaction where I look at everything as a chain where your arms are a chain, the shaft is a chain, and then there's a weight or a ball or a club head on the end of it. When you swing it back and load it, your feet or your lower body will start to transition, then the hips, then the body, then the arms and the club, and they all come in a chain reaction behind. And that's what powerful athletic golfers do. A poor golfer learning the game is very tense, and they'll get all the way back to where they would be considered almost loaded, but from the top of their swing, they almost start with their hands, and it becomes a chopping motion because they're trying to hit at the ball, which is the opposite of lag. And it's difficult for them to feel. So the orange whip allows a person to feel what lag should feel like during their golf swing, and hopefully makes it easier for them to transition that feeling.
Don't talk too much to Larry about being loaded, because that's how he is every time he plays golf.
That's what I should be.
Oh, God, that's not
Okay.
fair to Larry.
You know,
So you guys
they
have
asked him-
said you guys have said the word loaded probably about 30 times in this session, and I'm not sure I understand what that means.
Okay.
Okay, so with any type of momentum and weight that you're having, like there's a weight on the end of a golf club head, and it's it's not a whole lot, but it's weight. So when you're swinging back, there's a time and a play. Like Freddie Couples loads it so beautifully. He goes back, gets it up there, he sets it, waits for it. You know what it's like? Imagine, here's the best way I can explain loading. Imagine you're a kid on a swing set and you're swinging back and forth, and you kept kicking your legs to go higher and higher, and you get to that point where you're on the clock, like at 2 o'clock on the clock. When you get to the top, you almost float for a second. That's becoming loaded, and then you unload to go the other way. You're loading up all that momentum. So that's kind of what happens in the golf swing. And there's a ton of ways to talk about it, but in my simplest term, that's the best way I can express it. It's like being on the child on the end of a swing, or even at the fair when they have those strongman things where they take a sledgehammer and they lift it up and then they slam it down and they make the thing go high up and it dings a bell. Well, a good guy with a sledgehammer will take it back, load it up, and then when it's ready to go, it almost feels light at the top of his swing, and then he goes. If you go before it's ready, you could pull out your back, you could hurt yourself, do a lot of things uncoordinated wise. But if you load it up just right, it actually becomes light and easier to swing.
I guess another way to describe it is looking at your picture right here. Once your hands get here, where they are at the top of the backswing, the loading of the shaft is the club continuing even though you've stopped.
Yep, exactly.
And now you're going in the opposite direction, and that the end of the golf club is lagging behind the grip of the golf club.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. It's a chain of events where, it's just going to trail behind, like whipping a towel or any other type, fly fishing, maybe I don't fly fish, but I think it's exactly like fly fishing.
All right, I have a question.
Good question.
All right, and I use the regular long one, and then I have the shorter one because I wasn't getting good results with the longer one, and I felt like I needed more help with irons. So I got the next shorter one.
Yep.
But when I start my swing with either one, and it's easier with the shorter one, that's my only accolade there, I end up with the orange whip getting ahead of me. What am I doing wrong?
Explain to me getting ahead of you. Where is it getting ahead of you? On the downswing or on the where about? Then I would say you're probably trying to help it too much with your hands at the top of the swing, rather than waiting for it up there and letting your body kind of transition the other direction and let it just follow behind. So I think you're probably just trying to help it with the hands too much is what I would guess. So here's what I'd suggest. I would just swing back, start it slow, almost like a putting stroke, and then a chipping motion. Get it to about 3/4 to 3/4, and you continue this motion. Don't stop. Go 3/4 to 3/4, and get it to where you don't feel like you're getting it ahead of you. What might be happening is you may be going back too far, and maybe your arms or hands are getting a little bit out of sync, and then you're trying to help it with the hands to speed it up, to get it back in sync, and then it's getting ahead of you. So I would recommend slow swings that go from quarter swing to half swing to 3/4, and don't let yourself go any farther than that, and get it into a rhythm to where you're really waiting for it on each side, and it's basically trailing or lagging behind rather than getting ahead of you. I would guess, without having seen your swing it, that you probably just got a little too long and loose, and it got out of sync, and you've just tried to save the day by helping with the hands, is what I'd guess.
Yeah,
That makes
sometimes if
sense.
they throw
Thank
the
you.
body. They throw the body,
Yes.
do the same thing, wouldn't it? I mean, they start their downswing, they start shifting so much weight over to the left foot so fast that'll make them get rid of the club earlier than you want to.
Exactly. So it's just a timing thing, and I think shorter swings. If I was going to start a new golfer today, an athletic person or anybody, I wouldn't let them go much past 2/3 of a golf swing, maybe 3/4, until they get that motion. Then they get that. If they want to make a bigger turn after that, so be it. But early on, I used to let people go too far back, and their arms would collapse and they'd fold, and different things would happen, and it just became way too complicated. So I've shortened my swing quite a bit. Maybe not to Tony Finau length, but I hit it just as far, but I've shortened it tremendously. It's way more efficient. And as if I want, I could turn further and make a bigger turn and hit it further, but my consistency in that is much better now. So I highly recommend 2/3 to 3/4 swing, and really get it to where you don't feel like it's getting ahead of you. And then once you got that, then if you feel like turning more, great. But if not, I think you'd be happy with that.
Any more
Thank you.
questions?
So Jim, how can everyone get in touch with you? Can you give us some kind of discount code for your website? How can people get an Orange Whip in their hands?
Yeah. Well, it's Orange Whip Golf is our website, and you can get there. I think if you just use the promo code Orange, I haven't. There's been we have numerous. If they use the promo code Orange, it should give a $10 to $20 discount. I off the top of my head, I don't recall what it is actually right now. Orange, or what we could also do is I could find a good or create a promo code for you guys for the quick fix. I don't have it set up now, but I could set that up, and we could have a
we can
discount
email it out
for
to everybody. We've got everybody's list. We can email it out to them and say, hey, if you want to get
Yeah,
an
let's
Orange Whip, we
do-
got your break.
Yeah, and I'll get a good deal for you guys on that. I'd rather do it that way because I'm sure Orange works, but it may not be. Maybe we can work out a little better deal. But yeah, maybe we make it quick fix so it's an easy. And we can even provide a link for you on the email that goes right to it, and the promo code's installed.
And I see in the picture here, you got a white belt. That's got to be worth at least a couple shots right
Oh
there.
yeah,
Anytime you got a white belt, come on.
white belt.
Either that or he's going to Wolfie's on Miami Beach. Get some of those free pickles they have when you get there. Any other questions? If not, we'll call it a night. This was great, Jim. You were great, man. Really,
Yeah,
appreciate
really
you
good.
coming in.
Thanks so much, Jim.
No, I appreciate it. Again, I apologize for but no, it was fun. It was good to talk with you guys. And
Hopefully, we'll see you in
enjoyed it.
Laurel sometime. You're practically neighbors with us.
Exactly. And I get over there quite often because of work and tournaments and that. So I'll come visit you for sure next time I get over there.
Love to have you.
It's great. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Hope you enjoyed it. Jim Hackenberg.
I did.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Thank you again, Jim.
Orange
Thank
Whip
you.
Golf
Good night.
Guide.
Have a good night.
We'll be sending you a discount code.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll set that
Good
up tomorrow.
stuff.
Yep.